Hi, geometry class. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the end of another week. Hopefully you remember from yesterday we talked about parallel lines and writing the equations of them and how if they're parallel, if they run beside each other, they have to have the same slope. Okay? That was a key point of yesterday's lesson. They have the same slope. Now, the other type of lines we're going to examine are perpendicular lines. These ones cross forming 90-degree angles. You can see we have two examples of them here. Okay, this one in the top left. Okay, for that one, we've got a blue line, a red line. We'll start with the red line. And the red line, if we find the slope of it, it's not going to be the same if they're perpendicular, but there is a pattern. Start with the y-intercept, go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Okay, so that slope of the red line is 3 over 1. Meanwhile, the blue line, I start here, go down 1, right 3. Okay, so that slope will be down 1, negative 1, and right 3 is a positive 3, so negative 1/3. The second example here, once again, they're perpendicular because they form 90-degree angles. We start here at the y-intercept. It goes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Okay, that one has a slope of up 1 over 1. And for the other line, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. So the slope would be negative 1 over 1. Okay, now, just from two examples, you might not see the pattern. However, if we did numerous examples of perpendicular lines, hopefully it would start to emerge. You might notice 1/3 switches and becomes 3 over 1. Okay, 1 over 1, still 1 over 1. Okay, but if we switch the numerator and denominator, okay, the top and the bottom switch, that's called the reciprocal. Anytime we have perpendicular lines, we will have a reciprocal, but not just the reciprocal. Notice how this one was negative 1/3, this is positive 3, so it goes from negative to positive. Likewise, this one was positive and then it switches to negative. The sign will always change. It's called the opposite reciprocal. Okay, so opposite reciprocal. Now down here, we're going to practice finding the opposite reciprocal a few times. So here, if our slope is 2, the opposite reciprocal of that. First, keep in mind that 2 is technically over 1. Okay, so the reciprocal would switch to be 1 over 2. Opposite means this one was positive, so this becomes negative. Okay, our next one, 9. It's going to become negative 1 over 9. As I do this, try to think of it first. So this one's negative, so it will become positive. And instead of 1/2, it switches to 2 over 1. Our next one's negative 4, still going to become positive, except instead of the 4, it becomes 1 over 4. Okay, negative 2/3 becomes positive 3 over 2. 3/5, it was positive, so it goes to negative 5 over 3. So opposite means the sign changes, and reciprocal means the top and the bottom switch. Now, this one maybe is a little difficult. It's positive, so we know it becomes negative, and it technically was 1 over 1, so if it switches 1 over 1, it's still negative 1. Next one would be positive 1/2, positive 5 over 4, negative 1/7, positive 1/3, and finally negative 1/4. Okay, so if you were not sure on how we found that, maybe go back 2 minutes and watch that again. Okay, but if you're understanding, let's move on. And the reason that's important is because if we are told that two lines are perpendicular, then we can easily find the slope of the second line if we know the slope of the first. Okay, so just like we did before, we're going to use the same formula, point slope form right here, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now notice here it says, write the equation of a line that passes through 2, 0, and is perpendicular to the line y equals 2x minus 1. Now, if it's perpendicular to this line, we first need to identify the slope of that line. So the slope of that line is 2, which means anything that is perpendicular, that upside down t means perpendicular, okay? Anything that is perpendicular, the slope of a perpendicular line, instead of 2, the opposite of positive 2 becomes negative. reciprocal, instead of 2 over 1, it becomes negative 1 over 2. Okay, so the slope I'm going to use is right here, negative 1/2. Now let's plug it in. So we'll start y minus, remember this is our x1, this is our y1, and our slope is right there. Okay, so y minus 0, that worked out nicely, equals negative 1/2, parenthesis x minus 2. Okay, we got that from right here, the x1. Now, we rewrite that, it's going to be y equals, we distribute here, negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x. Negative times the negative becomes positive. Half of 2 is 1, and we are done. Okay, so let's do one more example of that. Okay, this time we're going to write the equation of a line that passes through 4, 1. Okay, still perpendicular to the line y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1. So first, once again, let's establish the slope of the original line is negative 1/2. Now, if it's perpendicular, that means it's opposite reciprocal of that slope. So instead of negative, it becomes positive. Instead of 1/2, it becomes 2. That's our slope. Now, as we said above, if 0 is one of the points, that's great. We've said that many times. It makes it easier. However, it does not have to for us to use this equation. Okay, we can still plug in any point. There'll just be one more step. So y minus, keep in mind, x1, y1. So it'll be y minus 1 equals, then we put our 2 here, positive 2, because that's the slope we're going to use because we're looking for the perpendicular line. Okay, put your parenthesis, x minus, and right here, that's x1, so 4. Okay, we distribute in, and we're going to have y minus 1 equals 2x. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Add the 1 to both sides. We're just about done, and we get y equals 2x minus 7. And that will be our final answer. Okay, so go ahead, give that a try. We got just a few practice problems for you. Then have a great weekend. If you're not caught up yet, try to get caught up this weekend on some of the extra assignments. Hope you have a great weekend. Reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll talk to you guys later.